With the continued prominence of social media, connectivity is a given. We chat with friends, acquaintances, and strangers alike without regard to distance or cultural barriers. One of the most popular sites which facilitates this connectivity is none other than Facebook. Facebook is the de facto social media platform for billions of people across the globe, but these trivial pleasantries hide a seedier reality. Facebook's business model depends on user engagement and user data, and, as will be demonstrated shortly, Facebook seeks both with no regard to ethics or the negative socio-political consequences. Rather, through years of controversy and scandal, it appears as though Facebook pursues them with reckless abandon. In this video, controversies and scandals of both past and present will be exposed in detail. Specifically, the spread of fake news, unscrupulous data mining by third parties, the incubation of toxic political movements, and the role the platform played in the ethnic violence taking place in Myanmar and Ethiopia. Facebook keeps users on the platform by keeping them engaged, and as a for-profit company, maximizing user engagement maximizes profits in turn. The media which people are interacting with? Not much of a concern, and dishonest news stories make the rounds on the platform frequently if popular enough. One such story made the rounds just 3 days prior to the 2016 US election. Published by the Denver Guardian, the story detailed an FBI whistleblower at the root of a murder-suicide. Allegedly, they leaked some of Hillary Clinton's emails, and pre-existing conspiracies about the Clintons engaging in assassination amplified the story's reach, garnering hundreds of thousands of shares. Another news organization, the Denver Post, had suspicions. They never got a tip regarding a murder-suicide, so they looked into this upstart news organization and found some troubling information. Firstly, the address of the Denver Guardian led to a tree in a bank's parking lot. Secondly, they searched through police records and found nothing indicating there was a murder-suicide at all. The story was completely fabricated. Of course, this didn't stop its spread across hyper-partisan pages like Freedom Daily, whose following of well over 1 million people spread it even more. BuzzFeed News investigated Freedom Daily, among other right-wing pages, and found they published false or misleading information 38% of the time during their period analyzed. In fact, misleading content got an overwhelming amount of engagement versus mostly true content. As users continue to view these pages and interact with said content, what they see will shift. In an effort to keep users engaged, algorithms will constantly push similar content to users. True or false matters not, which leads to the creation of so-called echo chambers, which captures the attention of users at the expense of the truth. And unfortunately, Facebook's attempts at quelling fake news and other misinformation have been lackluster at best, and utterly non-functional at worst. Facebook also stays in the green via the wholesale collection and sale of user data. After all, if the service provided by a for-profit company is free, oftentimes the user is a product being sold. The data harvested by Facebook is vast, and then sold to advertisers or other third parties. One of these third parties was none other than Cambridge Analytica, albeit indirectly. Then executive Alexander Nix of the now defunct Cambridge Analytica made it very clear that their firm's actions may have had a significant impact on the Trump campaign's success in 2016, securing the Electoral College victory while losing the popular vote by nearly 3 million. All the while they gained the data used without consent. Then, by influencing select citizens who are more prone to impulsive anger and conspiratorial thinking, spread various right-wing narratives across Facebook. Facebook claims it was deceived, but according to the Attorney General of DC, Facebook likely knew about the data breach well before reporting it, and blithely ignored it prior. There have been questions regarding the actual impact of Cambridge Analytica and their practices, but what isn't questionable is Facebook failed to take effective measures to protect their users despite having knowledge of Cambridge Analytica's questionable practices since 2015. It becomes clear that, because of this scandal, Facebook was at best negligent in protecting their users' privacy and at worst complicit in this data mining. Facebook has also found itself becoming the home of various toxic social movements in both the past and present. No doubt spurred by Zuckerberg's free speech absolutism, with civil rights group Color of Change saying Zuckerberg uses diverse perspective as essentially a cover for right-wing thinking, when the real problem is dangerous ideologies. These dangerous ideologies, political or otherwise, have little issue spreading on the platform. Echo chambers were previously mentioned, and the algorithmic manipulation of content for clicks which creates them also makes recruitment for these movements rather easy and organic. Regarding anti-vaccine rhetoric, Facebook has issues quelling it, despite the existence of a repository of accounts spreading misinformation. Regarding militia groups, like the Kenosha Guard, despite many reports and explicitly prohibiting such groups from using the platform if they promote violence, which they did, it was found they didn't violate community guidelines and the page was never deleted by Facebook even after the killings there. Through their own actions, and lack thereof, Facebook has proven they not only tolerate, but accept these groups as valid actors in the larger debate despite their penchant for rejecting empirical evidence and desire for mayhem and murder respectively, and are clearly somewhat at fault for metastasizing them into the mainstream. With Facebook's tendency toward an action laid bare, it's time to delve into arguably the worst offenses they failed to curtail, specifically the Rohingya genocide. Extremist Buddhist monks and Myanmar security forces have been engaged in what's effectively a genocide for years, and prominent figures, along with sympathizers, have used Facebook to spread their hatred. Amnesty International, in their report, The Social Atrocity, Meta and the Right to Remedy for the Rohingya, found that Facebook knew, or should have known, that Facebook's algorithmic systems were supercharging the spread of harmful anti-Rohingya content in Myanmar, but the company still failed to act. From posts deeming Muslims as dogs that need to be shot, to senior members of the Myanmar military, who later took power in a coup d'etat, posting that we openly declare that absolutely our country has no Rohingya race, we can see clearly that anti-Rohingya content was coming from not just disparate radicals, but the highest echelons of state and social power. It also appears that Facebook has not learned their lesson. Recent ethnic violence in Ethiopia has led to many, including their prime minister, to post inflammatory statements. A recent probe by Global Witness found that ads containing hate speech were approved, even after warning Facebook that hate speech in Amharic was not detected by automated filters. In the nations of the world where Facebook is effectively the internet, a lack of moderation has led to such rhetoric becoming the norm. And Facebook's lackadaisical approach towards non-English countries has not just laid the groundwork for one genocide, but perhaps a second in the making. Facebook is either unwilling or unable to learn from their mistakes, but we can. So let's look at some of the causes of these mistakes. First, free speech absolutism almost always leads to platforms being taken over by hostile elements which are primarily interested in spreading their own narratives. Zuckerberg's insistence on an extremist conception of free speech, so much so that he explicitly allowed white nationalist content on the platform, does not elevate the conversation. Rather, it drags the conversation down, and these hostile elements appear more as an occupying force looking to annex corners of the platform than engage in good faith debate. These elements need to be driven out for a healthy conversation to take place. Please refer to Karl Popper's Paradox of Tolerance if you haven't already. Second, profit-driven enterprises cannot be trusted to protect human rights. No matter what the slick marketing states, the values held by corporations are ultimately secondary, if not tertiary, to the generation of capital. We see this with Facebook prioritizing engagement over quelling hate and misinformation, and other social media companies are ultimately subject to the same incentives. Profit generation and protecting human rights are two completely different things, and as such, have completely different incentive sets. As such, it'd be asinine to suggest that Facebook can police itself when it's shown it clearly can't, and rather some other entity must hold Facebook accountable for its misdeeds caused by their negligence, or, if internal memos are to be believed, their gross misunderstanding of hate speech. Accordingly, Facebook cannot be trusted to facilitate productive conversation in a political space, nor can it be trusted to protect the rights of the marginalized nor the oppressed. In the face of all these scandals, there's evidence of prioritizing profits over people's lives, one can only advocate for a mass exodus.